We have with us today CJI ADCC contender, top 10 ranked grappler, Mr. William Tackett. Thank you for joining us on Coffee with Killers.
Great to be here.
You recently came back from an excursion across the U.S. Was this a business, leisure, or both?
It was a little bit of both. We did some seminars, met and trained with some really cool people, and then got to camp and fish a whole bunch. It was fun.
What challenges did you face while traveling out back?
Well, my alternator went bad on the road, and we were in the middle of the mountains, so we had to just find the nearest AutoZone and drive as fast as we could to get there before the battery died. And then once we changed it in the parking lot, we were able to make the seminar later in the day. But I was stressed for a little bit because I was worried if we got broken down on the side of the road, we weren't going to make it to the seminar in time, and that would have been awful.
Where did your travels take you? What was your favorite place you stayed? Could you paint a picture for our listeners?
So we actually went from Texas to New Mexico first, and then we went from New Mexico to Colorado, then Utah, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Washington, Oregon, California, and then just back to Texas. And we went through a few states along the way. It was really fun. I think the coolest area, we really liked Wyoming, Utah, Montana strip, just because Yellowstone National Park was super cool. And there was a lot of really cool gyms along the way too. We got to train in, I think, 3 or 4 different gyms in Utah, one in Wyoming, and then a nice gym in Montana as well. It was super cool. That area was awesome.
I hear you are soon to be married. Can you give us some details on the big day and the lucky lady?
Yes, Jasmine Johnson. We've been dating since, I think, 2019. So we've kind of grown up together, I guess. And we're getting married next month, so it's going to be awesome. Long time coming.
Where did you and Jasmine meet?
We actually met when we were kids at probably around y'all's age, because she used to compete as well. She fought on a lot of the local tournaments. And we met at a Fight to Win tournament. And we competed alongside each other for a while and just kind of were friends. And then whenever I was fighting in the Jits King in 2019, I was flying out to Florida. We went on a date, and that was our first official date.
How long was it before you knew she was the one?
Well, I felt like she was pretty special early on. Pretty early on, I realized that I liked her. She was actually my first official girlfriend, so that probably had something to do with it too. But I really liked her, and we just kind of built a bond over time. I don't really think there was a specific moment where I was she's the one. We just got along, and we had a really fun time hanging out, and I just didn't want to be away from her, so we just kept being together, and then now we're living together and getting married.
What is an average day in William Tackett nutrition, training, and sleep?
Well, nutrition starts right when I wake up. First thing that I do is I normally get a meal of some protein and some carbs because I'm about to go train, and go get some training in. That normally consists of some drills, some wrestling, maybe some live rounds. Head back to the house, get some protein and fats in me, and rest for a little bit, maybe take a nap. And been working on some YouTube stuff, so I'll maybe record a video or do some editing. And then next meal might consist of some more carbs and protein because we're going to go train again. That might be weightlifting or another jiu-jitsu session. And then fuel up again before bed with some carbs and some protein and fats. And then try to get to bed on time after maybe watch some TV.
Would it be safe to say you seem to approach jiu-jitsu in a methodical way? Or how do you break down matches or potential opponents?
I try to take a pretty methodical approach when it comes to it. I think a lot of people just try to go out there and just fight and just scrap. But I think that there's a benefit to going out there and just kind of studying your opponent in the lead up, and then going out there with a strategy and a game plan in mind. I've beat a lot of people over the years only with strategy. I think they were maybe better than me on the competition mats, but I just had a good strategy and was able to go out there and win the match. So I try to take a pretty methodical approach to my training and my competition camps. I like to try to look at my opponent, watch his matches, develop a certain style that I think works well against them, and then I always really enjoy testing that in competition. It's fun.
What is your favorite submission and why?
I like the rear naked choke. In no-gi, I think the rear naked choke's like the coolest submission to go for because it's so simple, and it's been used since like the beginning of jiu-jitsu. And it doesn't really matter how big somebody is. I feel like if I get behind them and I lock up a rear naked choke, I can finish it. And then in gi, I like the cross collar choke for mount. I think it's also like that same representation of like the most basic submission you can really go for. And I just feel like there's something cool about that, like hitting someone with like the most basic move. They can like see it coming, but they can't stop it. I kind of like that. I think it's fun.
With your experience, do you ever get nervous before competing, and how do you deal with it?
Yeah, I get nervous all the time. I mean, I think I get nervous every time. If I'm not nervous, I think there's something wrong. I actually asked Saulo Ribeiro a question one time, if you guys know who that is. Around your guys' age, I took his seminar, and I asked him, I was like, how do you not get nervous? Because you look like you're just stoic and like a samurai out there, and you never get nervous. And he answered like laughing. He was chuckling, and he said, if you're not nervous, you're not human. And that's how he answered my question. Super simple. And I've kind of like thought about that over the years. And I think it's a good way to approach it. If you know that they're human, they're nervous too. I'm human, I'm gonna be nervous. It's okay, it's just part of the process. And for some reason, that makes me a little less nervous, knowing that the other person might be just as nervous and that it's just part of it. You just gotta deal with it. And I think channeling those nerves for like good positive energy to like go out and compete effectively is important.
We have the pleasure of meeting your parents and family. What does family mean to you?
I think family is everything, especially when it comes to like doing something as hard as trying to be a professional jiu-jitsu athlete. You need the support of your family. Like my parents have been great about supporting us over the years, like getting us to tournaments, allowing us to be able to train full-time, homeschooling us to get us more time on the mats. Like for me, I don't think I would be in the position that I'm at today without the help of my family. And that's just considering for jiu-jitsu. Like talking outside of jiu-jitsu, like family is just so important. I love my family to death, and I would do anything for them. And I know that they would do anything for me too. And I think having that support is super important. Yeah, family, I mean, I think you can't put a price on it.
As jiu-jitsu evolves, we see a lot more wrestlers training jiu-jitsu and jiu-jitsu training with wrestlers. Do you feel it is good for the sport or becoming a better competitor?
Yeah, it's great for the sport. You guys know Jason Nolf? Yeah, Jason Nolf's like one of the best wrestlers ever, and he's getting into jiu-jitsu now. And it's super fun watching him compete, training with him. Like, it's just so fun. It brings like more excitement to the sport that we haven't seen like in the past. Sometimes you guys watch matches and they're like really boring. Guys just kind of stand there. Well, watch Jason Nolf. He doesn't do that. He always goes crazy. He does something cool. And I think that's really important. And wrestling is going to be kind of helping bring that to jiu-jitsu. So I think it's good for the sport overall. And I think it's also good for wrestlers to kind of like do some jiu-jitsu stuff too, because I think that with some years of experience competing in jiu-jitsu, I think Nolf could go back to wrestling and kind of bring a whole new style. So I think they're kind of good back and forth for each other. I train wrestling a lot, and I think it's really important to train.
When you were growing up, at what point did you know like you wanted to have jiu-jitsu as like a career?
Pretty early on. I remember when I first started jiu-jitsu, I was 8, and I like trained, and then I sat and I watched the adult class after, and I saw them like spar, and it just looked really fun and cool. And I was like, I want to do this like forever. I just remember that like first class, I was really hooked. And then kind of as time went on, I just kind of kept competing and kept training and kind of found more love for it. And I think probably around like 10, 11, 12, I had the idea that I was going to save up my money for a plane ticket to Brazil. And I was going to fly to Brazil when I turned 18 and get my black belt. And then once I had my black belt, I could come back to the U.S. and open a gym. That's just what I thought at like 10, 11, 12. So my grandpa would give me like $1 every week to help me save up for it. Nowadays, like, I realized that you need more than just a plane ticket to go to Brazil and get your black belt. But that was like kind of my dream early on, was just to get my black belt and just kind of pursue jiu-jitsu. Nowadays, I got my black belt in U.S. when I was 19 under Rodrigo Cabral, and I compete now, and I didn't really expect to like compete professionally then. So things have changed a little bit, but overall, I'm really happy that I decided to pursue jiu-jitsu full time, and it's been awesome. I've loved it. I love it for sure.
I think I read the future. You plan on opening your own gym. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, in the future for sure. I think I'll probably open up my own spot. I think it'll probably be more like a family spot. I think maybe my dad, because my dad trains as well, my dad, my brothers, and I can kind of all run it together. I could see something like that happening in the future. Definitely, I'll always train jiu-jitsu, like I'll always be in the gym, so having like your own gym to train at would be super fun. But I'm also just really happy training at Fight Factory too, so we'll see what happens in the future. For right now, I'm just trying to build like my online platforms and just trying to grow in that way and keep competing.
Can you talk about your potential UFC contract? What do they have planned?
Yeah, so I would love to sign with the UFC. I think that would be awesome. The UFC is kind of building a whole roster right now, and we see guys like Mikey Musumeci, and I'm forgetting who else just signed exclusive with them, but they're signing exclusive athletes, so I would love to be part of that. The UFC, I think, is like the biggest company in the world, so it'd be really cool to participate amongst like the greatest of all time. Like UFC took the sport of MMA, which was like kind of small, and made it like one of the biggest sports, and I feel like they can do the same with jiu-jitsu, so hopefully it all works out. That'd be sick.
Have you been approached for Craig Jones Invitational too? I heard this time they're planning on putting together teams.
Yeah, we might be participating in the Craig Jones 2. I would love to. I loved the CJI one. It was like my favorite tournament of all time. So I have nothing but good things to say about the CJI, and I would love to be a part of Craig Jones 2. We just got to find a team. So if we can build a team, a winning team, we'll go out there and compete for all you guys, and hopefully be exciting and put on some fun matches like last time. But since it's a team tournament, it really matters on what team you're a part of, because since it's round robin and you're stuck in the middle the whole time, if you're winning, then you're kind of guaranteed to either draw with someone or lose. So if you're on a losing team, you might go out there and lose. So we'll see what happens. I definitely want to go out there and compete because I like the pit and I like their rule set and I love everything that they stand for and everything they're doing for jiu-jitsu. We just got to find a good team. So let's do it.
What is needed to be a top grappler? What character traits, work ethic do you think is important?
I think consistency is the thing that reigns supreme above them all. I think you can work really hard for a short amount of time and then fall off the bandwagon and then not really do anything, and you're never going to get better. But if you just kind of work consistently, even if it's only a few times a week, you stick to that over years, you're going to get better and you're going to see progression. So like for me, if I want to see progression in my game and I want to get better from like now till next year, I just got to be consistent with like the type of training that I'm doing. Of course, there's like smart ways to train and there's stupid ways to train, but if you've trained for a few years, you kind of understand the differences between good training sessions and bad training sessions. And as long as you consistently have good training sessions and you don't just slack off and don't go to training, then you're going to get better. So consistency is probably the number one thing that I would recommend that people incorporate if you're trying to get better at jiu-jitsu. And then, like the strategy and like what games you play and all that kind of goes into it too. But consistency is like the main thing.
We have seen you compete locally and internationally. What was your favorite match and why?
Oh man, that's a tough question. I've had a lot of fun matches over the years because I've been competing since y'all's age, and I can't even count how many matches I've had. I remember one year in 2019 I had 128 matches, so that's like almost too much to even keep track of. So I've had a lot of matches, and I've had a lot of fun matches, and I've had a lot of boring matches. But the last match I had at CJI against Joao Rocha, half of it was fun, half of it wasn't fun. I was stuck in like getting smothered the last 5 minutes, so that wasn't fun. But overall, that was a really cool match because when I would do something, the crowd would roar. At one point, the crowd was like chanting my name, and it was a big arena, and we were the only competitors, like the only match going on at that time. So it felt like the crowd was really like locked into our match. So that made it really fun. For me, when the crowd gets into it, that's really what makes the match fun.
Are you a guard puller, or do you prefer to stay on your feet, and why?
So I used to like only pull guard. When I was competing a lot in the IBJJF, it was tough to like wrestle guys because if you tried to wrestle them, they would just pull guard. And then in the gi, it would be difficult to pass within like 5 minutes of the juvenile time length. And then maybe they get an advantage or sweep you and you lose. So I would pull guard and then I would come up and get an advantage. So then at least I'd be winning. And then maybe I could win by the advantage or like try to pass and stuff. But now that I don't compete in IBJJF as much anymore, like I haven't competed in IBJJF since purple belt. Now I just focus on trying to wrestle and gets a top position and use guard passing to my advantage. And I think that's a whole lot more exciting too. And that's really all I'm trying to be nowadays, is just be exciting, put on really good matches, and be effective. And I think wrestling, for me, is a good way to be exciting, tire the guy out, get to good position. So I like wrestling a lot more nowadays. So I've kind of done a little of both. I used to pull guard a lot. Now I wrestle a good bit more. But I think it's good kind of that I've done both, because I can kind of do both. I can play guard if I want. I can wrestle if I want. So I kind of feel a little bit well-rounded, but I prefer wrestling nowadays for sure.
What is your routine whenever you have an upcoming fight? Does your lifestyle change any?
Well, I try to stay pretty consistent year-round. Just like I was mentioning earlier, like I feel like consistency is really important. So even after like competing, I still try to like have a really clean diet. I still try to like make training sessions happen, stay up on my recovery, get good sleep. But when training camp starts, like 6 weeks out or 8 weeks out, or however long the training camp is, I do try to lock in and not give any room for error. So I don't give any excuses. Like, if I'm going out to eat, doesn't matter if there's really delicious food in front of me or not, I'm sticking to the diet. It doesn't matter if I'm feeling tired or not, I'm still going to training. And it doesn't matter if I want to stay up and finish, an episode, I'm still going to bed on time. So I just give myself like no excuse during training camp. But overall, I try to stay pretty consistent year-round.
I believe you started at Team Rabadi. How did you find Rodrigo Cabral?
Yeah, I started at Team Rabadi. It's like a Six Blades affiliation now. Robbie Rabadi was the guy that started it back in the day. It was the first introduction to jiu-jitsu for me, and I trained there for a long time. I got my blue belt under Robbie Rabadi, and once I got my blue belt, I started doing a little cross-training with Cody Steele and Rodrigo, and then it just kind of led to me realizing that I needed tougher training partners, because I would train at Team Rabadi and I had a great time doing it, and everyone there was family to me, but I didn't get like a ton of hard training, and I was trying to compete at a high level, and I was doing okay, but I was like winning and losing and not beating like those best guys. And then when I would go to like Fight Factory and train with Cody and Rodrigo, I would get like tough rounds and I'd get beat. And that just never happened at my other gym. Like I remember going months without even getting my guard passed. And you can't do that as a blue belt. As a blue belt, you need to be getting beat up, So when I'd go to Rodrigo's, I'd get mauled by Rodrigo's. Cody and I would have really good rounds. So I just figured that would be a good transition for me. So I think in 2016, either late 2015 or 2016, we joined Fight Factory, and it's been awesome.
What have you learned from Rodrigo, and how has it affected your growth as an athlete?
One of the main things that I've learned from Rodrigo, like through training, is he does a lot of specific training in his classes. He like says, start from this position, winner stays, and there's like a line and rotating. There's things that I've learned from it that are good, and there's things that I learned from it from like kind of a bad part too, because I've gotten hurt during those training sessions. So that's kind of taught me to like take my training a little bit more seriously, and if I feel tired, like maybe slow down the pace and don't just keep trying to push. But then I've also gotten really good at those particular positions by starting there, and that's something that now I've included in all my training sessions. Now if I'm wanting to get better from like front headlock, now I just start the rounds from there and I get a lot of reps in those positions. That was something that I just really didn't do at the last gym I was at. And I think that was like probably one of the main things that kind of had an impact in my game from the moment that I've joined Fight Factory till now, is like the amount of specific training that we do. And on top of that, Rodrigo has like one of the best half guards in the game. Him and Lucas Leitch are like probably like the two best half guard players in all of Team Checkmat. And I've fortunately been able to train with both of them and picked up a lot of details from their half guard game. And I've been able to use that in a lot of my matches. Like when I fought both the Rotolo brothers, I swept them both with half guard, which normally they Dars people when people try to do stuff like that. But thankfully, due to like Rodrigo's teaching and Lucas Leitch, I'm able to keep good positioning and get sweeps over high level guys like that. And it's been a big staple in my guard game now. Now I love half guard, and I wouldn't definitely be playing half guard if I didn't learn from Rodrigo and Lucas.
I've seen your YouTube channel. Can you tell us a little bit about it and where people can find you on the internet?
Yeah, you can check me out on YouTube. I just now started doing videos again. I kind of took a little bit of a break. I was really focused on competing, and filming and editing videos takes a while. So I was just trying to focus on, competing and building my online school platform. So I wasn't doing a whole lot of YouTube videos, but now thankfully Jasmine's helping me out with some editing and filming. So we're starting the YouTube again, and I just did like a video on Mike Israetel, kind of reacting to his jiu-jitsu, and I think I'm going to kind of keep that style of video going forward, and it's fun. I like it. I think it's good for the people on YouTube to get to watch some kind of free content, and then it's cool for me too, because if I get more views, then more people know about me, and that helps with getting matches and stuff.
What are your sponsors you're currently working with?
Right now, Level Black is my main sponsor. They're awesome. They're the leading brand when it comes to jiu-jitsu, especially like no-gi grappling. I think there's a lot of brands out there, but Level Black particularly has like the most exciting athletes, and that's what really kind of drew me to their brand early on. They hit me up when they kind of first started, and they had some of the most exciting grapplers signed, and I was like, yeah, I definitely want to be a part of that. Like, I want to be in the squad with like the exciting grapplers, and I've just tried to kind of keep representing that flag and trying to be exciting. And Level Black is awesome with kind of giving us fighters opportunities to go out there and compete and help us out with that. So Level Black's like really my main sponsor. I also get a ton of supplements from ATH Sports Co. They have awesome supplements, electrolytes particularly, they're awesome, and they use really good products and stuff like that. So those are like really my main sponsors. Really thankful to the sponsors for helping me out.
If you were trapped on an island, what are your must-haves, food, entertainment, and creature comforts you'd need?
What kind of island are we talking?
Like just an island out in the middle of nowhere, like no return, you know?
I feel like you definitely need something to start fire, like a flint and steel or a lighter or something like that. Because if you don't have fire, you're going to probably not be able to eat, and then you're going to starve. But then also you need like a source of water too, because if you're on an island, there's no fresh water around. So hopefully there's some coconut trees, maybe a spring somewhere. Creature comforts. I feel like the fire is like the main thing you need. I feel like even if you don't have like a nice sleeping bag or something like that, sleeping by a fire definitely helps. I realized that on the road trip. It would be really cold, and if there's a nice fire nearby, you're pretty comfortable. So give me a flint and steel. That's the number one thing on my list for sure. Probably second would be like a knife. Having a knife would be, I think, really important. Maybe like a tarp, like third. That way you can get out from underneath the rain. But yeah, I think depends on how many items you're asking me, because I could go down a long list, I guess.
Now, where do you see yourself in 10 years from now?
10 years from now, hopefully I've accomplished everything I want to accomplish in the sport of jiu-jitsu. Like, I've won enough matches that kind of makes me feel satisfied, and I feel like I've kind of done enough in that regard. Hopefully, maybe running my own academy, and who knows? I mean, for me, like 10 years from now, I didn't expect to be in the position I'm at right now. So it's kind of hard for me to project where I'll be at in 10 years. I'm just going to keep trusting in God, keep working hard, and hopefully it's a whole lot better than where I'm at right now. I mean, I'm happy and thankful for what I have right now, but I think if I just keep working hard, things are going to keep getting better and better.
It's been awesome to have you on Coffee with Killers, and look forward to seeing you and your future accomplishments. Thank you so much, Mr. William Tackett.
Yeah, dude. Thank you, guys.
Hit that follow button for more killer content on Coffee with Killers.
Where there's always something brewing.